Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review number 157. And I am the moderator, Virtue, being joined, of course, by the NoDQ Galaxy in the chat. Jerry is back, Jargo is back, and Aaron Rift is here as always. Gentlemen, what's up? Jerry, I'll come over to you since you haven't been on for a minute, but Jerry Slaughter is in the house. What's up?
It's the Jerry Slaughter. Thanks. Not much, just hanging out. Took the night off of work because I got my daughter's birthday tomorrow, so I'm really excited for that. Double digits. So that's really exciting. And I'm interested. I want to talk about, God pretty much showing up everywhere in wrestling this week. So
we will definitely be talking about that. And interesting. I mean, I know there's some things out there on the internet about wrestling and whatnot, but we're here right now on YouTube live. Jargo, you're on back-to-back weeks, man. Now you're becoming a staple here. But you know what? You committed to be on. You're here, and you're loyal. I like that. What's up?
Well, I have this weird thing about actually showing up in places where I say I'm going to show up. It's kind of crazy like that. But,
yes.
Thank you very much for having me back. I'm happy to fill in whenever I possibly can. I'm anxious to sit down and talk some wrestling with you guys.
Cool. Oh, and I have to make sure, shout out to the Cleaver, Colin Andrew, who is working this evening, but he's trying to listen and moderate as we do the show. And he will be on, I believe, next week with us. So we look forward to having you back on, Colin. All right, Aaron, over to you. What's going on in the land of NoDQ corporate?
Well, it's been a bit of a slow week, but things are going to pick up. We got the WWE Draft coming up on SmackDown and Raw. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the fallout from Extreme Rules. Looking forward to this edition of the NoDQ Review. I say let's go ahead and get the ball rolling.
Well, let's talk about topic number one here then. And it has to do with the ending of the main event at Extreme Rules, where one demon, Finn Balor, and WWE cannot get away from the red light. It comes on and he starts demoning up, hulking up, if you will. Looks like he cannot be stopped. He is ready. I mean, he's taking on the Usos. Paul Heyman's out there. The Roman Reigns Empire, head of the table, Universal Champion. And then he's just about to do a coup de grace. And then that's when the top rope gimmick falls. And he then, all of a sudden, the demon powers are gone. The red light shuts off and Roman hits the spear. 1, 2, 3. So this is WWE at its finest, or should we say at its worst? Now, I was looking at this subjectively. What would 7 to 12-year-old me think if I saw this back in the, golden era? I probably would have been like, oh, cool, the rope broke and Roman capitalized, and I would have kind of been interested in this. But now with us knowing the inner workings of wrestling, a lot of people did not like this. So, Jerry, I'm going to start with you. What's your thoughts here? And is Roman going to remain Universal Champion beyond Crown Jewel against Brock Lesnar? Because Aaron's trying to put some doubt out there on the internet. Jerry, have at it.
Well, the whole flopping around thing on the ground, that was kind of weird. Like when the red light kicked on and he was demoning up, as you said. But I can buy into the whole gimmick thing, and the rope breaking, I thought that was inventive. We'll go with inventive. I don't think it was stupid, really. But I just think it's kind of weird how, Miro is considered, he calls himself God's favorite champion. And, he loses the belt this week, but Roman Reigns keeps his. I think he actually shifted his focus to Roman a little bit more. So, yeah, I think Roman's going to still keep the belt after Crown Jewel as well. I think he's actually going to beat Brock Lesnar over there. Not for a fact that, Roman Reigns, deserves the win or anything. I think it's the fact that Brock Lesnar just doesn't want to be champion. I don't think he wants to wrestle nearly as much. I think he wants to do a couple matches, get his money, and go back home.
That's a good point. Now, Jargo, when I'm looking at this, in the ending of the match, is this WWE's way? Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, whoever, is this their way of thinking they protected Finn Balor? Please indulge me with your thoughts on what happened at the end of Extreme Rules, which, by the way, that match had Extreme Rules, right? The whole pay-per-view didn't, but that match did. What do you think?
I felt like the match delivered up until the finish and what transpired from there on after. Finn Balor and Roman Reigns have really good chemistry the few times that we've seen them in the ring together. I do agree with the chat. Finn Balor needs to get far, far away from Roman Reigns. Thankfully, there is a draft coming up. I think we could see Finn Balor moving to Monday Night Raw. I think that would be a great fit. As far as the finish goes, I thought the finish was god awful. I do believe that was their intention, was to attempt to protect the demon and attempt to protect Balor. But I just think everybody just comes away from it looking stupid.
And the cat says,
Yeah,
stupid.
the cat's about to get thrown across the room.
No.
Well, see, that's the thing. Aaron, Aaron likes cat, so he's marking out over this.
I am.
I know.
I mean, we got a fifth opinion in the panel tonight, and it's a feline.
Big Finn Balor supporter.
Give me 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Bring
No
him on
problem.
the screen.
So here's the thing. Like, Aaron, I'm going to come over to you. So I know this is rehash for you because you do your recap of the pay-per-view, which, by the way, you did get pretty good traffic and after-party views on your Extreme Rules video there, I noticed. So
Yeah.
add to this, maybe you have some changes or new thoughts since you did that video. And, of course, indulge me with you have a bad feeling that maybe all this work they put into Roman could be for naught if they have Brock win. Is that just you chasing attention, or do you really think that's something you're considering?
I have to see how things play out over the next couple weeks
Okay.
with both Brock Lesnar's storyline as well as Finn Balor's storyline. As I said on the stream, I think I would be okay with what they did as long as there's a reason behind it, because Finn Balor is 180 pounds. Like, nobody's going to buy that he stood up there and it just broke. Now, is the demon that powerful to break the rope? I don't know, but probably not. I think if there's no follow-up to it, then it was a dumb ending. It reminded me of when Dean Ambrose had the television explode in his face on that one pay-per-view back in 2014. That was a terrible ending, made him look like a complete buffoon. So, yeah, I got to wait and see how it plays out. But, yeah, it did generate some interest, and people have been talking about it. WWE does these kind of endings. We saw The Fiend get set on fire last December. They like to do these big dramatic endings to the pay-per-views, and it does generate buzz. In that sense, it works. Does it bring in new fans? Probably not, but it satisfies the diehards, I think.
It kind of reminds me of the days of Papa Shango.
Yeah, and some people like that stuff.
Like it was really cool to have that kind of different entertainment value to it, because in the long run, it's sports entertainment is what WWE is. It's going to entertain any way it can. That's why you had the music. That's why you had the movies. That's why you have everything under that WWE umbrella, not just wrestling.
But see, I would counter with that and say that this is exactly what's wrong with WWE. Like, while it satisfies, the hardcore fan base who's going to watch this crap anyway, I feel like it does turn people off. And consistently over doing 20 years of these crap finishes, we've seen them cut their audience, down by about 80%. And it's always just something like this that it's just makes somebody say, you know what, screw this, I'm done. It's stupid.
So they cut their audience
down. What was great about the Roots of Aggression era is that there wasn't anything like that at all in that spot.
But where they win to them in 2021 is people talking about that finish, for good or bad, better or worse, on social media. Publicity. Media. WWE has become a social media company, and these type of weird finishes really back that up, in my opinion.
Well, and while that's true, that people talk about it on social media, the problem is the ratings continue to keep going down, 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 and those TV contracts are up in 2023, I believe it is, and then suddenly the ratings are actually going to matter.
Pretty much for every person that was entertained by it, you have somebody that's insulted by the ending. It's like, am I supposed to really believe this?
But see, here's the thing. It's Vince McMahon, and he is older now. But, I mean, he lost 83 weeks in a row to WCW, and he still modified it when he needed to, right, Jargo? When he needed to end up winning. So I just almost wonder if he's just so oblivious to all of this that if he absolutely had to do something, would he change something if he was losing money? That's the problem. It's going to take that next TV deal to come through where he can't get nearly as much as he just got. Then will that be the reason for him to change? And you're not supposed to be you're supposed to be proactive, right? Not reactive.
Yeah.
And Vince McMahon might not be proactive. He might wait till somebody really truly threatens him, or that business just declines too much to where the competition's legit. And the only time he's ever changed, you and I talked about this on Virtue's Race, Jargo, is when his back was against the wall. Aaron, I see a super chat came in.
Walter Cruz sent in a very generous $10 super chat. Thank you, Walter. And hopefully we'll get him on for Crown Jewel predictions. He's been asking to be on that, so we'll make it happen. He says, people cry for WWE to do something different. They finally try something different and creative, and everyone still bitches. At least they tried. I do need a follow-up, though. Show that Heyman loosened the ropes.
I have something different and creative for WWE to do. It's called a clean finish.
Oh,
I like that. I mean, trust me, this whole Roman run, I wish every one of them was clean finishes.
Absolutely.
I do agree.
I mean,
I think he should have been Balor clean. I know they wanted to protect the demon, but I think Reigns should have done
Did he beat Balor on SmackDown clean, regular Balor?
I thought he used the low blow. Didn't he use the low blow?
See,
Yeah.
so he can't even beat Balor in either form clean. And
The way I had it predicted would have had like Lesnar come out there and actually, drop Reigns, but then Reigns would like still kick out of like whatever Finn Balor would throw. Then like have Roman Reigns attack like Demon Balor with a chain or something, lay him out that way. That would be like a clean finish or at least an Extreme Rules match. And there wouldn't have been any kind of like need for what we end up getting.
And I'm going to go on record early because I don't really do these prediction shows. And Roman Reigns, even in Saudi Arabia, even if they told WWE Brock needs to win the title, I'm telling you, they're not getting off of Roman Reigns as champion. And the more there are people out there like Mo Camera that start bitching about Roman being champion too long and burying the roster, that's going to make WWE to do it even longer because that's what they do. They do what the fans don't want. So, I'm looking forward to that.
While I agree, Virtue, I was an advocate for Balor taking the title off of Roman.
I know.
And for one of the big reasons was for Roman's own good, because I feel like people are getting bored with Roman Reigns. Like we need that next direction for this character. And I thought Roman getting screwed out of the title, whether it be the Street Profits interference, whether it be something with the Extreme Rules, whether it be Brock Lesnar, somehow Roman gets screwed out of the title and suddenly you have angry Roman Reigns and you have, instead of that cool, calm, collected, I felt like it would have gave that character a different kind of direction that would have been fresh and new, as opposed to just doing the same shtick over and over for months on end. Because I feel like people are starting to get bored with it.
Well, and that's the thing, though. Wrestling fans will get bored no matter what you give them. So do you end it too early? Do you make it go a long time? I mean, who knows, right? Roman doesn't need a belt, right? To be honest with you, I mean, it's not like he's close to John Cena, Ric Flair type title reigns. I mean, Randy Orton and Edge have double digits too, correct? Reigns doesn't have that many. So in all the times that he's been in the main event, but why not? When he's a heel, you shove the heel down their face until you. That's a problem. They don't have a baby face to go over to be that next head of the table, head of the company. They need to have that. They need to find him quickly because that's how you make your money out of Roman Reigns long term, is to find that next superstar like it used to be done back in the day. But I don't know. Any other questions on this before we move on? I don't really have anything else on Extreme Rules. I mean, it was what it was in terms of the pay-per-view. It just was another WWE Peacock/network event. Nothing really too big.
The whole Alexa Bliss thing, where like I guess she was supposed to, they're writing her off television for right now. So but I think that's only to see what ends up happening with Bray Wyatt, where he ends up going and if he's going to still do the Fiend character and all this other stuff to make sure it doesn't go stale. But I like to see her just return as Alexa Bliss.
Which she probably will. So we'll have
Hopefully.
to stay tuned on that. Now, let's move on here because remember when Becky came back at SummerSlam and became the SmackDown Women's Champion, and a lot of people didn't like the way that happened.
How can we forget?
How quick that match was. Well, Bianca had her rematch against Becky, and of course, Sasha Banks is now here and back in the fold, and looks like we're going to get a triple threat feud. So Bianca's in the title picture. Jargo, what do you think here? Sasha versus Becky versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Is this ultimately still damaging to Bianca Belair, kind of being the third fiddle in the Sasha Becky thing?
I'll have to get back to you on that one. We'll have to see what happens over the course of the next couple of shows, because I don't believe all three of these women are going to remain on SmackDown.
I agree.
Well, that'll be part of our main event, so that will be interesting, and we'll have to kind of figure out where we're going to go with that. But like right now, there isn't a draft, and all three of them, right, were in the ring together, and Sasha's back, and she's doing her cocky swagger, and that's a thing too. Fans are supposed to like Bianca here, right? Sasha comes back and does her bitchy gimmick. Becky's supposed to be a heel. Jerry, what really happens with WWE? Like, fans are not going to be told what to do, like what to like, right? I mean, it just doesn't work anymore, right? So where's your take on like each of these girls' current status with the fans?
I think with Sasha, she's going to probably play like in between until the fans actually do make up their mind if they're going to boo or cheer her, and then they'll write her to be in that direction. Bianca, they're still trying to force people down people's throats as a face, even though like she's clearly meant to be a heel. She's got the swagger, she's got the ego, she's got everything to her. She was the EST in NXT. She's just not the EST here. She plays too much to the crowd. She just tries too hard. And I actually love the idea of somewhere down the line, her and Banks actually being like a tag team, like a heel tag team for those two would just be perfect. And Becky Lynch, they're trying to get her over as a heel, but at the same time, the more people hate Becky Lynch, the more people are going to still like her too, because it's a different angle for her character. I don't see Bianca being really buried at this situation. I think she's just there, just kind of like filler at this point, because you have two of like the main women stars of the company making their returns. So yeah, she's going to elevate them. She's going to bring them back into it because she's one of the best people to actually be in the ring. She's fast. She's strong. She just knows what the hell she's doing, and she's just a joy to watch. So I'm okay with the idea of a triple threat match between them, especially if for some reason, if Becky is to drop the title, she still somehow gets protected as well.
Now, Jerry, you know what's strange? When Becky left, she was the Raw Women's Champion, right?
Yeah.
And she relinquished it because she was pregnant.
Yeah, she
had to take time off. You would think, remember when Roman was out with leukemia, he relinquished the Universal title. Now, yes, he came back and won the Universal title, but when he first came back, he had no motivation to get the belt that he never lost, and Becky gets mixed up in the SmackDown title picture. That's just weird to me. Like, they could have done a little bit better on both, and that's just WWE being scatterbrained. Like, what's your take on that? Like, the fact that Becky came back and is the SmackDown Women's Champion. The
fact that automatically happened like that and at Bianca's expense was garbage. She could have returned at the pay-per-view, just made her presence known. They could have set up a program for her to lose the belt properly. But her more or less getting squashed in like less than 30 seconds, like a pay-per-view of that caliber, that wasn't cool at all.
Yeah. Now, Aaron, it's your turn here. Before that, though, Mo Camera, you are in the chat again, watching, giving us a view, watching the review, and I'm not even talking about Roman Reigns. This is talking about the women of WWE, and here you made a comment, whether good or bad, about Roman Reigns. I mean, that's where I'd say checkmate, bro. You can't not talk about him. Aaron,
right.
Have at it, though. Back to Sasha, right? Respect to the ladies here. Sasha, Becky, Belair. And yes, the draft's coming up, and if you want to save part of this for our main event, that's fine, but we saw what happened. So Your
I
turn.
sense Mo Camera is actually a Roman Reigns fan, and I think he's just putting on an act here. He loves Roman. He's talking about
you
him.
could say like
He's
me,
obsessed
Much
with
like pulling the pigtails.
like
back
me
and
on
forth.
Twitter, always talking about AEW and Tony Khan. You could say I love them, right?
Maybe he wrote Roman Reigns some letters and Roman wasn't calling. I don't know. He's always tweeting about Roman. He's always sending us messages. But hey,
Dear Reigns, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling.
right. glad somebody got that reference. All right.
So anyway, Aaron,
so
over to you.
I think Jargo made a great point. I think they're going to do a triple threat match sometime in the near future. One of them will get drafted over to Raw. Not sure who it's going to be. Could theoretically be any of the three of them. Maybe Becky loses the title without taking a fall. Maybe she does take the fall and goes over back to Raw, and Sasha and Bianca finally finish off their feud. Like, it would be weird for one of the two of them, Sasha or Sasha or Bianca, to go to Raw when they really haven't settled their feud. Like, a triple threat match would not necessarily settle it. Like, you want to see them go one-on-one and wrap up that feud once and for all.
Well, I mean, to me, I feel like you could see this triple threat match as soon as on SmackDown, right?
Yeah.
Because they're obviously not going to do this women's triple threat match for the SmackDown title in Saudi Arabia. Like, that's not happening. So we might as well just do it on SmackDown. Belair ends up moving over to Raw. Belair versus Charlotte actually seems like a pretty fresh matchup. She can match up with her physically. And then you have the star power of Sasha and Becky over on SmackDown. It just seems to make sense.
Or one of those like screwball finishes, like where they have a triple threat match and Bianca somehow gets the pin while Sasha actually makes Becky Lynch tap. And then you have almost like a draw where they have to relinquish the belt in their tournament for it.
Or a triple threat match, and Rhea Ripley interferes because I think we need to get her the hell off of Monday Night Raw. So she interferes in the match. Bianca moves over to Monday Night Raw, and Ripley is the new face of.
There's endless possibilities there, and that's actually what's really cool about this. The fact they actually have something they could do with their women's division and freshen it back up. Now that they have two of their major stars back in the company.
Aaron, did you have some super chats to catch up on?
Yeah, let me get to those. Walter Cruz sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, hey, I love Roman and still don't mention him as much as Mo Camera. But anyway, I see Bianca going to Raw, beating Charlotte and dominating Raw. There you go. That very well could be the direction with Bianca Belair on Monday Night Raw. I could see that as a possibility. I mean, really, I could see any one of the three of them moving over at some point and just shaking things up and changing the rosters.
I guess my question to you then is, of the three, which would you rather see? Because Becky versus Charlotte, I feel like we've seen 100 times. Sasha versus Charlotte, I feel like we've seen 1,000 times. Belair versus Charlotte seems like the freshest matchup, right?
Yeah, so Bianca would probably be the best choice, but I really want to see Sasha and Bianca in a one-on-one match to settle the feud rather than a triple threat, but they did set up the idea of a triple threat. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play things out with that storyline. And let's see here. We had another super chat, which is kind of off topic. So anybody wanted to add anything to that before we go to the next one?
Nope.
Okay.
This chat, and then we'll move the subject.
All right. Johnny Boy sent in a $5 super chat. Says, what were your thoughts or your current thoughts on Edge's second run? In my opinion, if he goes a few more years like this, it will be like HBK Shawn Michaels, where you cannot decide which run is better, first or second. I'll go first. I think he's got a ways to go. Yeah. The thing about Michaels is that Michaels was pretty much full-time his entire second run. He kind of winded it down the last year or so, but he was going hard for like 6-7 years. If Edge can keep up that schedule and appear on TV and have a lot more interesting feuds over 4 or 5 years, then I think there's an argument for that. But if he's just going to be a part-timer, I'm not sure if he'll be able to top his first run. His first run was pretty epic. So,
and when it comes to HBK's second run, you have that Undertaker trilogy, the 2 matches, and then the match with him as the referee between Undertaker and Hunter, which was basically HBK and Taker Part 3. It's really hard to top that story.
Yeah, for sure. Virtue, anything you want to add to that?
Michael's second run was obviously his better one. Edge's first run, no matter what happens here on out, will be his better run because even though he became a main eventer, did all that, but he was in the tag team division kicking ass with Christian, and that counts too. I know Michaels was with the Rockers early in his career, but it paled in comparison to what the Edge and Christian did. So Edge part 1, Michaels part 2, and Michaels part 2 is better, obviously, of all, in my opinion.
All right.
What else? Ready to move on?
Yep.
AEW championships. Okay. I'm not going to include the FTW championship, Ricky Starks. I know that's in AEW, but that's not it's an unsanctioned title, I believe. It's not official. So here are our current champions. The women's champion is Britt Baker. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope.
The tag team champions are the Lucha Brothers. Sammy Guevara is now the TNT champion because he just defeated Miro on Dynamite. And, of course, Kenny Omega is the AEW World Champion. So where I'm going with this, because I know the NoDQ chat loves the AEW segments, and the numbers are going to – the live viewers, everything's going to go through the roof, right? Because AEW is the hottest thing in wrestling. So I had to make sure this is a big topic tonight. Jerry, who should be – and not necessarily who you think AEW is going to push. In your mind, who should be the next – people to win these titles? Go. There's 4 of them here, so this might take a little bit, or you could just rifle off 4 names and move on. But it's your turn. Go.
I did my research earlier. Once you posted that, we were going to be talking about
this. Was probably the topic you really look forward to, wasn't it?
It kind of was because there's only so much we can talk about the WWE product. I like throwing a little bit of AEW in there anyhow. But for the we'll go with the women's championship first. I like the idea of Thunder Rosa being the next one to pick up the belt because her lights out match with Britt Baker was fantastic, and the fact that they could have another match, maybe almost like a 3 stages of hell match, or just even like an Iron Woman match, I'd be happy with either one of those. But I think it'd be time for Thunder Rosa to actually get her shine in there. Tag wise, they're already pushing for the Proud and the Powerful, Ortiz and Santana to actually be the next people to challenge the Lucha Brothers. And I think they're due to have the championships as well. And that'd be really cool to have both Guevara and those 2 members of the Inner Circle. Now they're not hanging out all together, all winning belts. That'd be insane to actually see because they'd be succeeding without each other. But as a unit, they couldn't really get anything done. Even Swagger Hager. Even Jake Hager and Chris Jericho just lost this last week. So that's just weird for me. Sammy Guevara, the person the belt should be taken off of him. I was leaning towards MJF because his and MJF's feud has been going on for forever. But at the same time, MJF is excellent on the microphone. He cuts great promos. I just think he still needs more work in the ring. I think he needs to work with more established heavyweight talent and everything, especially if he's going to be considered to be the heavyweight champion after a while. Because I see that happening within the next possibly 4 years.
Let me counter that for just a second.
Yeah,
I feel like part of MJF's shtick when he's in the ring is the fact that he wrestles so damn boring. But it's effective. I feel like he purposely wrestles the style that he wrestles.
Kind of like Randy.
That's
the whole thing. So it's the bucket of cold water, the wet blanket on the show to the point where that gets even more heat, and that's fantastic. But I don't think he's destined for a TV title. I think he's more destined for the heavyweight title because of that. And I think for Sammy Guevara to drop the belt is probably going to be the Malachi Black. I can honestly see him going after Fuego del Sol first, pretty much dismantling the rest of the Nightmare family, which Fuego del Sol is part of, as long as with Sammy Guevara's blog crew. So I can see him actually challenging Sammy Guevara and taking the belt off of him, and that would be a hell of a match to watch, regardless. And for the main title, Kenny Omega's. They're going to have the casino ladder match here soon, and that's pretty much their Money in the Bank. And I see Adam Page returning, and I see it becoming a triple threat match between Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, and Adam Page, with Kenny Omega not even like getting pinned in the match and losing the belt and going out of his mind.
Maybe you have it. You heard it from the general.
Ooh, that's a good call there, Jerry. And then Omega can get his rematch at the Revolution pay-per-view, so you can set up for that. And you finally get Omega Page for the title one-on-one. Good call there.
As we're talking about AEW, I've seen some things in the chat saying how AEW's like revitalized wrestling and gave it a buzz. Like, to who? To the people already watching. I bowl on Wednesday nights, and we're talking a 100-lane bowling alley. Nobody knows AEW. They all know WWE. Okay, those are casual people. And you're right. I'm not disagreeing with the chat. You're right. It's given a buzz to wrestling, to the people that are already watching. But that's a buzz within a bubble. Jargo. So we got some potential. Do you agree with Jerry on some of these picks? I know you mentioned something interesting with Miro. Your turn on this subject here.
Well, number one, when I said MJF wrestles a boring style, I meant that in a complimentary manner.
Oh,
like he does it by design. No, I know the chat room's kind of freaking out at me.
Oh,
it's by design. Like that was a compliment. It was a compliment, trolls. It was a compliment. Damn it!
If I just happen to see my name on the bottom, I look, but otherwise.
I do agree on Thunder Rosa. I think that she is the one to take the title from Britt Baker, but I don't think that I would do it before Double or Nothing next year. I think I would find stuff for Britt to do until then and just keep building Thunder Rosa, because that rematch is going to be absolutely fantastic. I do agree on Hangman Adam Page, although I hope it's a one-on-one match and that Hangman just plain straight up beats Kenny Omega. I feel like that would be great. And then, as Virtue was saying, I actually liked Miro losing the TNT title, because now they can build him into a main event player to challenge whoever the babyface is that takes the title from Kenny Omega. I assume Hangman Page, possibly Bryan Danielson. The TNT title, it feels very, very open to me at this point, because we don't really know what Sammy's going to do with it. I don't like the idea of Malachi Black. I don't like the idea of MJF. They both feel above that title to me as far as like stature wise. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, Macho Man Randy Savage going after the Intercontinental Championship. It feels below him to me. CM Punk is an interesting one. I could see that at this point. As far as the tag titles go, Virtue, you're going to love this. It should be the Men of the Year. I mean, like, I want to see Proud and Powerful challenge, but I want to see the Lucha Bros retain. But give me Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky as my next AEW tag team.
And I had them right up there with thinking FTR. I thought FTR kind of got the short end of the stick since they've been over there and they had it, and then the Young Bucks. So, but yes, you're right. To me, that would be ideal.
No, good.
I agree with Thunder Rosa. Adam Page, again, right? You got to have some homegrowns here, so why not? Thinking on the Sammy Guevara thing, I mean, it's the TNT. The only thing I ask for is if they could put that title at least defended once a week. I mean, they got 2 shows they can do it on once a week. I wonder what they're going to do when Dynamite goes to TBS. I think Rampage is going to still stay on TNT. So does that title become a Rampage title maybe?
I think they'll introduce a TBS title.
Do you? So
I think we'll actually have a completely separate belt for Rampage after a bit.
I want to react to this comment. CM Punk is not beneath the TNT title, but MJF is. Yes. CM Punk could actually use the TNT title as kind of telling his story of, I'm getting back into the swing of things and I'm rising back up the card. Punk could use that as part of his character. MJF, it feels like a step backwards.
And also the fact that like this would put CM Punk on television guaranteed at least once a week. And that's something that's going to pop the ratings every time, because everybody wants to see CM Punk.
You answered it for me. I agreed with Thunder Rosa. My Dan Lambert boys. I mean, again, Ethan Page used to wrestle at AEW locally in Cleveland, so definitely love seeing him get pushed. Adam Page, which one did I miss? Thunder Rosa, Adam Page. Oh, and then for the TNT title, why not CM Punk or Daniel Bryan? And I get it. Daniel Bryan's probably going to lean more towards AEW.
Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, well,
That's his slave name.
Again, I've told you on these shows it's going to take me time to get used to.
Oh, I know.
I finally started calling Moxley, and got left Dean Ambrose behind, but it took me a few months, okay?
Yeah.
But, yes, I like that CM Punk thing. So, Aaron, over to you.
You guys all made some great picks, and I'm not going to really add much to it. I agree 100% on Thunder Rosa. I think she should be the one to win the title next. I agree 100% on Hangman Adam Page. I think in order for AEW to perhaps get new people watching the product, you need to make new stars. I think that Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, those guys brought in some perhaps lapsed viewers or maybe people that gave up on WWE for a little bit or gave up on AEW initially after the first couple of months, and they came back for that. But I think in order to build a new audience of new wrestling fans, you need to make new stars. And you got to go with somebody like Adam Page, who's got momentum right now with the diehard fans. And hopefully when Steve Austin got hot, he was popular first with the diehard WWE fans, and then he started to gain popularity outside of that bubble. Can they do the same thing with Adam Page? I don't know, but right now I think he's the best shot at getting to that level if they go all the way with Adam Page. And tag team titles, I love that idea about the Men of the Year. I mentioned on Wednesday night, I loved that promo from Ethan Page. I thought he did great. I thought that was his best promo in AEW to date. So, yeah, I'd love to see them perhaps get the opportunity at the tag team titles if they continue to build up the momentum. And TNT title, like you guys said, a lot of good choices. And one person you did not mention, I was going to mention him, was Adam Cole. He's a guy that could potentially beat Sammy Guevara at some point. But there's a lot of good choices. I would be fine with MJF. I'd be fine with CM Punk. I think there's any number of people. And that's the thing about the TNT title. It really could be anybody. There's a lot of possibilities with that. So
I think
my other pick for like the TNT title, other than Malachi Black, especially since he's bringing back the Fallen Angel gimmick, would be Christopher Daniels.
Am I the only one that thinks that Black is kind of in a weird spot? Like, he should be going for the world title, but like he just doesn't fit in right now. I feel like Adam Page should be in there, or maybe Bryan Danielson or CM Punk. Like Black, he's getting pushed. They're doing well with him, but I'm not sure where he fits in right now. It's kind of interesting.
I'm thinking what they're end up doing is just having him completely convert the Nightmare Factory into like the House of Black.
I wish they would.
He's going to completely brainwash him from almost like to his like minions, and that's what it's going to be.
Or maybe he's being saved for.
He's building an army to make a push for the world title.
Maybe he's being saved for a feud with Bray Wyatt or whatever he's called when he comes in. Who knows?
Wyndham Rotunda.
And real quick, Sammy Guevara is a face, so I don't see Eddie Kingston going after him. But I would like to see Eddie Kingston get a title at some point, considering how over he is. Now, he's been teaming up with Jon Moxley, but you do have babyface champions right now. The Lucha Brothers could always turn, though. I'd like to see Moxley and Eddie Kingston get the tag titles at some point.
I was going to say, you got to throw Moxley in there somewhere. Maybe that's where we put him.
I know they've got a lot of belts already, but it seems though they have so many different like hardcore street fights. Why not have some sort of hardcore title for that place?
Hashtag no more belts.
There you go. Well, they are apparently bringing in, people mentioned it in the chat, they're going to bring in a TBS title as like a secondary women's title.
They can.
I know the trios ones are up in the air.
Trios titles have never worked anywhere but Mexico.
And at least they're doing that for the women, though. Like, so the men have their TNT title, the women TBS for a secondary. I might let that slide.
I think the big thing that you have to look at right now is we look at the potential of Hangman Adam Page being the one to take the title from Kenny Omega. You have to look at the heels that they're building to be challengers to Hangman Page. And I feel like that's where guys like MJF, Adam Cole, Miro are all going to kind of come into play.
Mm-hmm.
The hard part is going to be making those programs feel main event enough to headline over guys like Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, CM Punk, to where it feels like it's the real main event program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, real quick, guys, I wanted to respond to Jeff. I can't imagine Eddie Kingston being a heel again. I don't think people will boo him. They love the guy. I just don't see it happening.
If he turns on Moxley, people will boo him.
At this point.
That's a good point. If he turns on Moxley,
they might chant one more time though if he attacks him.
I think that's true with most people, but I don't think so with Moxley.
I think he'll get cheered if he's a heel. He'd be the cool heel at this point, and he wouldn't be really a good heel for a main event spot.
Shout out to Walter Cruiser earlier. I think to make it easier for me, I should just call Daniel Bryan Danielson, Bryanson. Like Japan, Bryanson.
Bryson.
So is everybody ready for the main event? Because this will definitely take us to the 9 o'clock hour. It's about the upcoming WWE shakeup known as the draft.
Right.
Jargo and I talked about this on a Virtue's Rage video. It's WWE has no clue how to book a real life to make it look like a real life compelling like sports type draft.
Right.
And like SmackDown gets 2, Raw gets 3 because it's an hour long. They just don't get the concept of what a true draft is. But we don't need to go into detail with that. We just need to we need to talk about who do we think is going where, or at least whether it's what will happen or what we would like to see as fans happen. So Jargo, we got 2 big rosters. I guess we could throw NXT 2.0 in there, but it's just kind of in a strange place right now with them rebranding that. I don't know if there's going to be much activity with that. This could just be Raw and SmackDown shaking up, but go, have at it.
Well, I mean, the names from NXT that I look at primarily number one are on the women's side of the roster because they have a lot of women's talent inside of NXT that I feel like have never had any business being in NXT. And I'm talking about women like Io Shirai. I forget what her name is now.
Dakota Kai.
Well, yeah, Dakota Kai, Frankie Monet. That's the one. I kept wanting to say Taya Valkyrie, and I knew that wasn't right. But they have a lot of very experienced women's talent down there that do not fit the vision for NXT 2.0. As I look at the men's roster, there's also some of those names. The ones that really intrigue me, though, are Johnny Gargano. Because Johnny Gargano in no way, shape, or form fits what they are trying to do with NXT 2.0. I've long been an advocate of Gargano going to SmackDown and kind of filling in that vanilla midget white meat babyface role, Brian's role, because I feel like he's the best guy in the company at giving you that kind of
the underdog
feeling. Yep, that white meat babyface underdog, the rebel heart that people can get behind. Yeah, it'll be good shit, You and
Jargo, Aaron and Jargo just cut a great promo there, and I don't think anybody but me just realized that. You were finishing each other's sentences. That would have been a great tag team promo in wrestling. Anyway, I had to point that out.
And then as far as the main event talent goes, I'm looking at names like Finn Balor going to Monday Night Raw, and I'm looking for Bobby Lashley to move over to SmackDown to lead to the Lashley versus Lesnar program that I really, really hope to see at WrestleMania.
Now, this is like, I'm going to let all you guys go before I go. So those are very intriguing. I will throw this one name out there because I'm really primarily looking at Raw and SmackDown. But since we did mention NXT 2.0, I like to see LA Knight up on the main roster right away.
Yes,
just bring him up there. That's a Vince McMahon sports entertainment cocky heel gimmick. Just do it.
Jerry, and he's like 38 too.
Yes. I mean, granted, AJ Styles skipped NXT, and I get it. He's AJ Styles. But speaking of which, AJ Styles, that's another interesting one. Go ahead, Jerry. You're on the clock.
Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander returning ruined everything for me. I like the idea like that had where the Street Profits and Bianca all joined up with Lashley and MVP and became a new Hurt Business on Raw. I thought that would have been perfect with given them like a manager of champions. They could all be heels and just be those just like hated and loved at the same time because like Bianca and the Street Profits had that quality to them. Where no matter what they do, you're going to cheer them or you're going to boo them, and you're just putty in their hands. Seth Rollins, I think, would be one of the best people to leave SmackDown and go to Raw, especially since Edge is not around at this point. And that would also put a little distance between him and Becky, so they can both do separate things. Nobody's always saying, it's like, I wonder when these two are going to team up. They're on the same show and everything. It's like, no. They have no business being together. NXT 2.0 call-ups or NXT in general, I want to see Imperium do something. I haven't seen Walter, Eichner, and Bartel have not been nearly as utilized as much as they could be. And they'd be awesome on either Raw or SmackDown at this point, just for like added meat and added star power. Eichner is one of the best heavy lightweights on the planet. Bartel's like pretty much the second coming of William Regal. And we're not even get started on Walter. I'm not sure if anybody can really handle Walter on the main roster.
Is anybody going to want to handle Walter on the main roster?
After Dragunov matches? No.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, suddenly we have to take a Walter match and we have to strip it down to 7 minutes long with a commercial break in the middle. Like, does Walter work in a main roster WWE style contest?
That's the sad part. I don't think he really would unless it's a program with Keith Lee. But even then, Keith Lee's being like not utilized right either at this point. Or Dijakovic, even though he's not who he should be at this point.
I feel like LA Knight becomes a bigger star on the main roster than Walter.
Oh yeah, LA Knight needs to be there just for the fact that he is a promo machine.
Right. I'm just worried he'll go down the EC3 route. That's the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why is EC3 mentioned on same night on TJS? That's weird.
I do feel like LA Knight is a better promo though, and has a better cadence than EC3 had.
I agree.
Yes.
I can actually see him like kind of like what they were going to do with Cole, have him come up as a manager role first and just be a mouthpiece for one of these people that can't really talk well or just can't cut a decent promo. Then he'll start adding more and more to his repertoire and start doing more and more in the ring. Kind of like Dallas Page started out back managing the Freebirds, getting more and more experience under his belt, even though he's been wrestling for quite a while now.
The problem is finding a guy that's bigger than him for him to manage. Because you don't want him to dwarf whatever talent that he's working with. And LA Knight's kind of built like a brick shit house.
So, Jerry, did you get your shit in?
Yes, my shit is in.
And something pops back in your head, feel free to let us know. Aaron, I'm going to come over to you now.
All right, well, let's start with NXT. I agree 100% on LA Knight. No need for him to be in NXT. He's been in the business for many years. He's pushing 40. I say if you're going to do something with the guy, get him up on the main roster. And I could see a few of the people that have been working the dark matches start on the main roster. Austin Theory, like he's pretty much been written out of the storylines. And Dakota Kai, I see being on Raw or SmackDown, probably getting lost in the shuffle. You know how things are. But we
forget that Theory was already up on Raw at one point.
Yeah, but I still think they're going to do something with him. Didn't he get in trouble, the whole speaking out thing? He was kind of in a little bit of a bad spot. So
I'm pretty sure he disappeared from television this last time, probably because of COVID. I can only assume because he was just gone for a couple weeks and now he's back again. So there's been no talks of injuries and wasn't really any matches to hurt himself. So
yeah, maybe Frankie Monet. She's been around for a while too. So those are the main NXT ones that I'm predicting. I'm not thinking that Gargano will be called up, but I've been saying for the longest time he should. He's been in NXT forever. As Jargo said, let him go to SmackDown and basically take Bryan's role as the underdog, the smaller underdog guy. He's over with the fans. He's a great baby face. Let him do that. As far as the main roster guys go, I'm trying to think like future opponents for Roman Reigns and future opponents for Big E. So I'm trying to think of a top heel to go over to Raw. Rollins probably fits that bill. Next to Roman, he's the biggest heel there. So I could see Rollins going to Raw. We talked earlier, maybe Becky goes back to Raw and is on the same brand with her man. And maybe Bianca goes to Raw, feuds with Charlotte, and then Becky comes in at some point. I don't know. But I definitely see a few of the top women being moved around. And as far as like the top Raw stars go, I think it's either going to be Drew McIntyre or Bobby Lashley. One of those two will go over. Bobby Lashley was teasing it, but I have this feeling that it's going to be Drew McIntyre and he's going to feud with Roman Reigns.
Well, I agreed with you until Monday, and then it seemed like they turned Drew heel at the end of the show, and he was going to be challenging Big E.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know,
No, it doesn't. But the heel turn is what really kind of gets me, because you don't want to do a heel Drew versus a heel Roman.
Yeah. I mean, it was a tease, but it might just be to throw people off. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to turn heel, but like, I don't know if Bobby Lashley going to SmackDown, like, unless he's turning face to feud with Roman, like, I don't know how that would work. And with the Hurt Business reuniting,
Okay,
not sure how that works.
I don't remember if it was on this show or another show, but I want, why do we dislike Bobby Lashley again? What makes Bobby Lashley a heel? That he's a big badass dude who just beats people up? Because I kind of want to cheer that guy.
Well, MVP always interferes and cheats.
Well, leave MVP on Raw with Shelton and Cedric and just send Bobby over to SmackDown.
Yeah, and you could turn Hurt Business baby faces and have them feud with the Bloodline. That would be interesting. You could do that. And I think Street Profits could end up, if Bianca goes to Raw, I could definitely see the Street Profits going back. And another name that nobody has been mentioning in the chat, and I don't think any of you guys mentioned, was Kevin Owens. Owens has kind of been lost in the shuffle on SmackDown. I could definitely see him going to Raw.
They're going to job Owens out until he goes to AEW.
I'm about to say my pick for that thing also is Sami Zayn. Zayn is like criminally underused on like pretty much any program he's on. So it'd be cool to actually have him move to Raw and actually challenge Big E for the belt. Now,
do you guys think they're going to do something with the tag team titles where the two teams switch and just hand over the other belts to each other?
Tag guys are staying. Here's all right. So Becky and Sasha are staying on SmackDown, right? That's going to be the SmackDown Women's Champion feud. Bianca, I like Bianca going to Raw feuding with Charlotte. So that covers the women. This is where I'm breaking this down, that Lashley goes to SmackDown. Lesnar is going to still be in the SmackDown bubble. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Okay. I'm not sure how they're going to play this thing out with Roman and Heyman, but you can still have that potential Lashley and Lesnar match if Lashley goes to SmackDown. I think Drew McIntyre will beat the transitional champion known as Big E to take the WWE title over to SmackDown. I'm going real bold here. Roman Reigns and the Usos are going to Monday Night Raw. Because look, SmackDown before Roman returned, okay, last year, SmackDown at its lowest, without the power of the Bloodline or Roman, because we didn't even know that existed, got down to like the mid 1.95s, right? So because Fox reaches so many people, they'll still have Becky, they'll still have Brock. They're right around where they're going to be. Raw needs the push, and they just experimented with the Usos and Roman coincidentally on Raw not too long ago, and it takes time. And Roman Reigns and the Usos are going to be that guy that goes up against Monday Night Football. Why? To get the ratings as high as they can on Monday night in the demo, because they are going to react to Dynamite, right, having momentum, and they're going to make sure that show against football during the football season can stay as far away from AEW as possible so it doesn't keep getting closer. That's what I'm calling. And Big E will be on Raw. That'll be Roman Reigns' feud. So what? If they did it, is everybody going to be upset? Why would you be upset? Yeah, sure, WWE's probably not going that way. Well, what if that happened? What would we all be saying at the water cooler? Holy shit.
You could be right. That's a good point, bringing up Monday Night Football and AEW.
This is the most I've agreed with Virtue ever.
I think WWE's like looking at Fox like, whatever, you guys are mad at us. Or, okay, well, yeah, we'll give you Brock and Becky, but we're going to take Roman back. We got to build Raw back up. I don't know, I'm looking at the coincidences, right? They came over for that one show, the Bloodline, because I want to see Usos. Yes, I don't know how that would happen. Somebody's going to have to lose the belts, right? So SmackDown titles will stay on SmackDown. But I'd like to see the Usos versus RK Bro, right, for the Raw time. I mean, so there'd have to be a lot to go on. And where's AJ going? Are we just forgetting about AJ Styles? Is he still going to stay just a tag team guy?
Yeah, I think at this point he's just making Omos look credible to the point where Omos is going to get put into a title picture.
Did we ever? Go
I
ahead,
think
Jargo.
they split Styles and Omos through the draft rather than having some kind of a breakup.
Correct my memory if I'm wrong. Did we ever have like a lengthy, thorough Finn Balor and AJ feud? Did I forget about it?
We haven't had a lengthy one or any kind of a major
like
creative feud. We've seen the match.
It's
been fantasy booked, but it hasn't been.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's those kind of possibilities where you can appeal to the fans who want the wrestling matches too. Why not at their stage in their career? That'd be something I'd like to see too.
I do got to say, though, we drink at different water coolers because you drink at one water cooler and I actually work at a Fox affiliate. Whereas when I'm drinking at the water cooler, that's going to be a very different conversation. There's a 0% chance that Fox lets Roman Reigns get away. And zero.
I hang up my vending machine, so I have no idea.
Good, you realize, right? And I did say I was bold as I was explaining it. That's why I wanted to go last because I knew nobody was going to say that.
Well, Virtue, let me read off this super chat from Walter Cruz. He says, Virtue, I agree about the bloodline to Raw, but I don't know if Fox will veto WWE from doing
I know, and that's why I have a low. But I love taking that high risk, type, or what's the phrase, Jargo? High risk, high reward. I like taking that because, say, after the draft, Roman Reigns and the Usos are on Raw. I mean, who's dancing like Carlton on Twitter? Me.
You know what they should do? You know what they should do? You remember the year when John Cena got drafted to one show and then got drafted back all inside of the same draft?
That same night, yeah.
Like every draft pick should be Roman Reigns. The first pick should be Roman Reigns going to Monday Night Raw. The second pick should be him going back to SmackDown. And then the third pick should be him going back to Raw and just make both shows the Roman Reigns show every second.
His hair just turning grayer and grayer by the minute.
I mean, yeah, and again, it's me going back to looking at how SmackDown did when Roman wasn't there, and it held its water better than Raw had. And granted, because Fox is Fox, but
and Virtue, good point here from Daniel. I guess SmackDown has to have the first pick, or Raw's going to look really stupid if they don't pick Roman Reigns.
Look almost as stupid as the Portland Trailblazers for not drafting Michael Jordan.
Exactly. Is there going to be any type of these WWE shenanigans? Like, say Raw had the first pick and they took Roman. Finagle, just for that instant shock value to blow up the internet for 24 hours. And then could WWE still rework something or get crazy?
Yeah, they might.
Suddenly Roman can be on both shows.
Did Triple H get drafted one year to SmackDown and then he was moved back to Raw right after?
At the end of the night, yeah.
Let's also remember WWE makes the rules that WWE plays by. Exactly. So it would be nothing for WWE to come out on Friday night and say champions are not part of the draft.
Jargo.
Boom. Problem
Raw
solved.
picks Roman. And then in an unprecedented move, because we don't really know what the true rules of a draft are, because WWE can manipulate that, SmackDown picks Roman, and you have the first guy picked by both. Barring that they ever said that only one, I mean, in a real draft, right, in fantasy football, you can't take the same player twice. But what if WWE manipulated that and Roman was picked by both shows?
Yeah, the whole show, they just keep picking Roman until the show is over and there's no draft picks.
But we'll see.
That'd be some weird shit if they actually had this next match is for control of Roman Reigns.
Here's the other problem. Here's the other problem, right? We know that Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce are in charge of both shows. So we have two people drafting the same shows? What are we doing?
Not general managers.
Yeah, they need general managers because it doesn't really make any sense whatsoever.
I mean, I bet you Jerry Jones wishes that he could just run the NFL draft for all 32 teams.
Oh, God,
somehow the Cowboys would still finish under 500.
Dude, could you imagine Jerry Jones and Al Davis, if he was still alive, being general managers for Raw and SmackDown, picking wrestlers?
If Al Davis was the general manager for Monday Night Raw, Ricochet would be the world champion.
Where's Psycho Jet Black tonight?
I didn't see him in the chat.
How can we have a stream without Psycho Jet Black making a Ricochet?
Did you get any other super chats? I do want to point out, though, we were kind of just hovering around 95 to 100 viewers, and as soon as we started talking about the draft, we did get up to the 120. So people still, even though we know WWE is going to probably bore us with this, they're still always intrigued every year just to see what might change and what might happen.
It's
Right.
pretty much like the Royal Rumble. We already have our idea of who's going to win it, but then it's like pretty much sitting there and seeing how they win it is like the usual telling factor.
Dominic Mysterio to NXT. I support that.
And as far as Braun Breaker goes, I don't think he's getting called up yet.
Not yet.
Maybe spring. After
Would they consider that still a lateral move, or would they consider that a demotion if they went back to NXT 2.0?
Not at this point, it would have to be a demotion, right?
Since it's pretty much like a brand new brand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, you know, and I'm going to throw out another name out there too. Either or scenario. Either Karrion Kross or Keith Lee will end up on SmackDown.
Yeah, that could happen.
And in either or scenario. I'll go
Keith
with that.
Bearcat Lee.
Yeah. So
Probably Kross.
I think there's also a good chance that Bearcat Lee ends up in the Impact Zone within the next 6 weeks.
that's a good point. You know what I want to see, guys? Why can't, like during a draft like this, why can't there be someone that the company doesn't even have signed right now be signed? Like, you know what I mean? Like Enzo and Cass return. And I'm just throwing that out there as a quick example. Like,
and the fans are back now. This is a good time to do it.
Just like, and I'm only saying them, right? Because they seem to have matured a little bit and are in the right place. And they did.
I don't know how long.
They did sell merch.
Cass is under contract with Impact.
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah, Impact contracts. So I believe those are probably written.
What if it is Wyatt? What if Wyatt comes back during this draft?
Oh, and it's all work and a swerve. I know who we're not going to see. We're not going to see Del Rio. We're not going to see Ryback, right? We can. I'd love to see Tessa, but everybody's staying away from her because
maybe Davey Boy Smith Jr.
Oh yeah,
he's back, isn't he officially?
Yeah, they haven't done anything with him.
That's the thing. If for some reason they wanted to make him and Braun Breaker an actual tag team, I would not hate that at all.
See, they have the tools to make this interesting if they choose to, and that's the big if. Is John Cena going to get drafted?
What a wasted draft pick. Who's gonna draft a starting quarterback that can only play 1 week of the season? You know,
John Cena. John Cena's already made his return. He's the one that untied the Dean Balor turnbuckle because nobody saw him.
What was on Brock's deal about 8 matches over the year and a half or something like that? So I guess if SmackDown drafted Brock, they know they'd get at least 4 or 5 matches. Well, then again, they're not going to get any matches on SmackDown. But it's going to be one of their guys represented on a pay-per-view.
Hell, you'd be lucky if those matches happen in this country.
Yeah, that's true. Any other input here with the upcoming draft?
Maybe Dirty Dogs to Raw. I saw a Dolph Ziggler comment. I could see Dirty Dogs going to Raw.
I wouldn't mind seeing them split them up.
Yeah, let Rude have his own music again.
No matter what, I do hope that New Day and USA and the Bloodline do end up on the same show, because I think there could be more told there with that, and maybe that could ultimately give us a true New Day breakup down the road, which again probably will never happen. Cena never turned heel, but
if they keep them separate, they can have them be on Raw versus SmackDown for the Survivor Series.
Yeah,
and make it almost like a War Games type match.
It's 9:00. You know what time it is? We're going to go around.
You know what that means.
Hopefully we can get out of here with no after dark, but we're going to go around and do our plugs. So Jerry, welcome back this week, and I'm glad you got on. I hope you enjoyed it and had fun.
Oh, I always do.
Go ahead and do your plugs.
You can find me on Twitter at Gerald_JSJ, where I've actually been tweeting a little bit more lately. I really don't get on there very often. I have my Facebook group Armbar, all capital, ARMBAR exclamation point. And eventually I'll be back on this show again. Just it's all for what days I actually get off of work.
Well, thanks for being on, and I know you'll be back again at some point in the future.
I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to you guys. And Jargo, man, it's nice meeting you. Awesome.
Pleasure is all mine. You can keep up with me on Twitter at NotJargo, and I'm pretty much everywhere. The Hitting the Marks Podcast Network, hittingthemarks.com, DestinoPod.com, over at the Big Vito brand, the Big V Mafia, right here at NoDQ.com, the 2-Man Power Trip. I am just a podcasting whore these days.
Thanks for being on. Back-to-back weeks, too. And I knew I could count on you. All right, Aaron, over to you.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and plug a couple of the No DQ regulars. Sun Goshiku, make sure you guys check out his stuff. He's always entertaining when we have him on. I'm not going to do his intro.
I wish I could. That dude's got a voice.
And the Simple Man Noah Foster, who does the No DQ Predictions League. We very much appreciate that. And it's a close race. It's a 4-way tie right now. We'll have to see who pulls out on top in the end. And I would also like to plug our good friend Big Baller G, who recently got married, of course, and he's been busy. The Cleaver Colin Andrew, make sure you guys follow him. He's been in the chat room participating, and we got to give a special shout out to good old JM Jeff Meacham. Follow him on YouTube and on other social media outlets. Thank you, Jeff, for being in the chat room and contributing tonight. And that's all I got. NoDQ.com. Stay up to date with the latest, and it's going to be fun covering the draft. You can follow NoDQ for all the latest updates regarding that.
And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter if you dare at NoDQ_Virtue, the Troll Slayer. I have a little thing up there pinned on my Twitter. If you purchase a Troll Slayer or Debate King shirt between now and Cyber Monday, and you take a selfie with it and you put it on the internet and show me, I will, if you will be entered into a drawing, and I will buy you, if you win, either the AEW video game when it comes out or the next WWE 2K game. That's what, $60 for any system that you want? That's right, I said it. So get into the holiday spirit over on NoDQ.com/merch. But yes, sir.
And this is the problem when I start plugging people's channels. I'll forget somebody, and then I'll get called out for it. Then I'll have to cover every single person we've had on. But I also want to plug Robbie Weiss. He's a great guy. Met him a couple months ago. We all went out to that barbecue restaurant. Very, very fun day. Follow Robbie Weiss, and hopefully we'll have him on again soon. And follow everybody. I can't name everybody because this will just go on forever, but we really do appreciate everybody. And we do have a After Dark super chat. Teaching in Color X with a $2 super chat says, do you think Ziggler will go to AEW? I feel like he's one of those WWE lifers, but you never know.
We said that about Mark Henry and Big Show.
Right.
But since Ryan Nemeth is there right now doing his own thing and trying to gain traction, I don't think Dolph will go over there and step on his toes.
And Dolph is also already 41. There was talk of him retiring like 2-3 years ago. I think Dolph is a WWE lifer.
I think maybe he'll take time off, do his comedy routines and whatnot on the road, but otherwise he's in WWE for good.
I could also see Dolph going to NXT, not as an in-ring talent, of course, but I could see him being a coach going forward.
Oh, maybe either coach or commentary. I'd love him on both.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Oh yeah, we didn't say how the announcers were going to get shook up.
Bring back more.
Can they really get?
They're not.
Can they really get shook up? Didn't they used to do that in the drafts?
Yeah, they did for a little bit.
Yeah, but there's no way they're taking Mitchell Cole off of SmackDown.
Yeah, well, that's right.
It's boss time,
dude. I'm telling you though, when this is all said and done, if SmackDown definitely doesn't look like what it used to, we definitely know what that relationship's like now. But remains to be seen. It's halfway through the deal. There's still a lot of money coming in. They'll probably cater to SmackDown. So for Aaron Rift, for Jerry Slaughter, and for Dr. Jargo, I am Virtue. Thank you for watching this week's No DQ review, and we will see you next time.